The shovel hits something that is not rock and not root. It makes a strange, hollow sound, like a spoon tapping an empty bowl. The man in the backyard, Mark Allen, wearing old sneakers and a baseball cap, freezes. He and his teenage son, Tyler, are just trying to plant a small apple tree behind their new house on Maple Lane. The afternoon is bright, the grass is warm, and the neighborhood is quiet in that cozy, suburban way. But the sound is wrong. Mark kneels, brushes the dirt with his hand, and sees a pale curve peeking through the soil. At first he thinks it is a pipe. Then the curve becomes a shape. He sees a line where a joint might be. His heart drops. That is not a pipe. That is a bone. He calls 911, voice tight, but steady. We found something. In the yard. Tyler stands next to him, eyes wide, not sure if he should look away or stare. The police arrive fast. Sirens soft, lights low, because this is a nice street and sirens make people worry. Officers put up yellow tape, the kind that turns a simple backyard into a place you whisper in. A detective named Erin Cole steps under the tape and kneels by the hole. She brushes dirt back with gloved hands. The pale curve grows into a small, familiar shape, a human skull. A quiet sound runs through the crowd that is gathered near the fence. People pull their kids closer. A dog stops barking. The air feels heavier, like a storm is sitting just above the trees. The medical examiner is called. More detectives arrive. Neighbors whisper names they remember, stories they heard, strange things they never told anyone because they didn't seem important at the time. Detective Cole stands, looks at the neat rows of houses, and says a sentence that lands like a cold wind. If there is one, there may be more. No one speaks. Somewhere, far off, a lawnmower shuts off, and the silence becomes complete. 2 weeks earlier, everything on Maple Lane felt normal and soft, like a movie about summer. Kids rode bikes in careful circles. Parents waved at each other from driveways. The new family, the Allens, had just moved into the blue house with white shutters, the one with the big oak in the front yard. Mark was happy to be here after years of tiny apartments and loud streets. His wife, Dana, liked the school district. Tyler liked the basketball hoop above the garage. Their first grocery list was long and simple. Bread, eggs, milk, light bulbs, a doormat that said welcome. They built a shelf in the garage and argued about where to put the toolbox. It was an argument with smiles. That Friday, the neighbors came by with cookies in a tin and a folded map of the town. There was Mr. Jenkins with his baseball stories, Mrs. Carter with a little dog named Molly, a college student named Grace who babysat, and water plants when people traveled. The Allens learned the rhythm of the street. Monday was trash day. Tuesday, the mail came late. Saturday mornings, you could hear someone playing guitar softly in the house with the red door. Nothing in those days hinted at bones under the grass. There was one strange thing, though. Late at night, when the street lamps hummed, the backyard felt like it had a quiet echo, as if the fence held a memory and didn't know what to do with it. Dana noticed it once when she let the cat out. The air felt colder by the back corner, where the two fences met. She told Mark, half laughing. He joked about ghosts. She rolled her eyes. They went inside and watched a movie about time travel and forgot. On the morning the digging started, Mark measured the spot for the apple tree carefully. He wanted spring blossoms, fall fruit, and something sweet to share with neighbors. Tyler pushed the shovel into the ground. They worked in easy silence, passing the shovel back and forth. Dirt lifted, pattered into a pile, and the hole widened to a circle big enough for a young tree. Then came the hollow sound, and the soft day broke open like a dropped glass. Detective Cole took charge the moment she saw the bone. She had calm eyes, the kind that tell people to breathe. She talked gently to the Allens, asked for simple details, and walked the edges of the yard like she was tracing a map no one else could see. She asked about the house's past owners. The Allens knew the names from the papers they signed. The Bakers owned it for years, then a quick sale, then renters, then another sale. Nothing stood out, but records could be checked, and Cole would check them. By evening, the backyard was a careful scene of lights, tarps, and quiet voices. Technicians worked slowly, brushing dirt, measuring angles, collecting every small thing. A coin surfaced, old and dark. A broken button. A tiny blue glass bead. The skull, now clean, rested in a tray with patient dignity as the rest of the bones were found and placed with care. It looked like a woman, small and slight. There was a ring near the left hand, plain and thin. Detective Cole wrote in her notebook and tapped her pen against the page 3 times, a habit that meant she was thinking hard. She looked over the fence into the next yard, Mrs. Carter's yard, and then to the one beyond, a rental with an overgrown hedge and a sagging shed. Her jaw tightened. The next morning, the yellow tape stretched like a ribbon along the whole back row of yards. Officers knocked on doors, asked permission, and set marked lines where the ground would be scanned. A robot with wheels and a ground-penetrating sensor rolled slowly across the grass, following a grid. The screen showed blips, bright marks where the soil had been disturbed long ago. Some were tree roots, some were old trash pits from decades back, and some were not. Neighbors gathered in small groups, holding coffee in paper cups, speaking in little bursts. "I always thought that corner felt strange," Mrs. Carter said, rubbing her arms like she was cold. "Years ago there was a man who built a deck over there," Mr. Jenkins added, nodding toward the rental. "He worked at odd hours. Nighttime, hammering at midnight. I told him to stop. A college student remembered a dog that barked at the fence for hours a few summers before. No one had connected any of it until now." Detective Cole moved from yard to yard like a careful teacher. She explained what the robot found in simple language. She promised to be respectful. She asked for patience. When the sensor pinged in the rental yard near the sagging shed, she asked the landlord for permission to dig. The landlord bowed his head and said yes. The ground, when opened, told a story that held too long. Another set of bones, older, curled tight like someone trying to make themselves small. The medical examiner talked softly as he worked. "Years between these," he said. "Different ages." He collected soil samples, tiny seeds, and small scraps of fabric. Everything went into labeled bags. One bag held a ribbon with faded yellow flowers. Another held a bent key that had snapped in half long ago. Detective Cole watched his hands and thought of nights when porch lights made soft circles in the dark and the rest of the world slept, not knowing what lay a few feet away. The news vans came by noon. Reporters stood on the sidewalk and spoke in sad, careful voices. Parents kept their kids inside. School buses rolled past slower than usual, drivers peeking down Maple Lane with tight mouths and heavy eyes. The Allens stayed with friends across the street that evening and tried to eat pizza while their stomachs fluttered. Tyler stared at his shoes. "We just wanted a tree," he said, as if the words had turned back the day. Detective Cole returned to the station and pulled old files from deep shelves, the ones labeled with street names and years, and the word code in red marker. She spread them on a long table. Missing persons reports, old maps of the subdivision when it was just dirt and string lines, notes about a handyman who showed up and disappeared, a babysitter who quit suddenly in the late 90s, a list of tenants in the rental house. Some names crossed out, some circled. She saw a pattern hiding like a shadow behind a curtain. It moved when she moved. That night, the robot scanned the final yard behind the red door house where the soft guitar music lived. The screen showed a bright, sharp shape not far from the fence, long, narrow, and too regular to be a root or a broken pipe. The team measured the spot and marked a rectangle with white string. Detective Cole radioed the medical examiner and waited in the quiet, listening to crickets and a faraway train. When the digging began, the dirt changed color slowly, from grass to chocolate brown to gray of old, packed soil. The shovel hit something that didn't give it all. The technician cleared more earth with a brush, cheeks tight, breath held. A wooden edge appeared, then a side, then a corner. It was a box. Not big, not small. Old wood, damp and stained. The kind of box that belongs in a story people tell to scare each other, not in a nice yard on a quiet street. Detective Cole stepped forward. "Everyone still," she said gently. The team moved back 2 inches, like a slow tide. She crouched at the edge of the hole and touched the corner with one gloved finger. Inside the house with the red door, a light flicked on, and someone's shadow moved across a curtain. Cole looked at the box and felt the night lean in. She nodded to the technician. He slipped the flat end of a tool under the lid and pried, careful as a whisper. The wood creaked once, like a throat clearing before a terrible secret, and the lid began to open,